Hello and welcome to another knife review. Today we're reviewing Benchmade's Mini Griptilian, which is a classic knife. And those of you who are collectors, your collection will not be complete without a Griptilian or Mini Griptilian. Since I like smaller knives, as you can tell, I'm going to be using the Mini Griptilian. This has a lot of emotional meaning for me because this was the first knife I ever purchased or had purchased for me that cost $100, and at the time I thought that was just obscene, but my children bought it for me for a Father's Day present, and they all chipped in a little bit and bought me this knife, and it was my favorite knife for the longest time, and it still is a great knife, so we're going to talk about it today. It's made by Benchmade. Mel Pardue is the designer, who is an in-house designer for Benchmade. Its big brother is Griptilian, and the Griptilian has a longer blade at 3.45 inches. This has a less than 3-inch blade at 2.91 inches. So the Griptilian has a blade that's half inch longer, and the Griptilian is 8.07 inches long. This knife is 6.78 inches long. So the Griptilian is a full inch longer than the Mini Griptilian, but this is just a great knife and I want to talk about it. It's very customizable too. There are 3 different blade shapes that are available. It has the sheep foot, which is what you see here. There's also a Tonto blade and a drop point blade you can get. There are 2 blade finishes, satin or black coated. This is the black coated one, as you can tell. There are 2 edge styles, plain or half serrated. This is the plain one. There are 2 different blade steels, 154 cm, or you can get the CPM 20 CV. There are also sprint runs that have different blade steels, such as the M4 steel. There are 2 deployment styles, thumb stud or thumb hole. This is the thumb hole. And 2 different handles. You can get FRN, which this is the FRN, or you can get G10. They've also made sprint runs in titanium, however, also. And in this particular model, there are 7 different colors available. You can also get laser etching on the handle and or the blade, or both. And I'm going to show you some of the blade etching examples from the Benchmade website. I especially like the reptile eye etching done on the blade in the left lower quadrant. So you get the idea. You just aren't able to get your name laser etched. You can get GIF or JPEG files laser etched onto either the handle or onto the blade. So it's very customizable, this knife, as are all the Benchmade knives. Let's talk about the specifications a little bit. The blade is 2.91 inches long. The handle length is 3.87 inches, giving a total knife length of 6.78 inches. The weight of the knife is 2.56 ounces. In this version, the drop point version is 2.81 ounces. The sheep's foot is lighter because of the thumb hole. You take material out of the blade, whereas the thumb stud, you have a solid blade, plus you have an addition of a thumb stud, which adds more weight. So I like it because it's lighter, and I also like it because I just like the thumb hole better. Let's compare it to some of its compadres here. I'm going to compare it to some other Benchmade models. Here is the Benchmade Valet and the Benchmade Sequel, and these are all about the same size, as you can tell. I'll get the Rockstead Heisen, which is about the same size also. We're going to get the Spyderco Delica, which is a little longer than the Benchmade Mini Griptilian. We'll look at the Strider PT, which is a little smaller than the Benchmade. And lastly, the Hinder XM18 3-inch was a little bit longer than the Benchmade Mini Griptilian. The blade on this one is made of the 154 cm. As I mentioned, it's also available in a higher grade steel, the CPM 20 CV. It has a high hollow ground, and this is in the configuration of the sheep foot. As I've mentioned, it also comes in a Tonto and a drop point style. There's jimping on the spine of the blade, and there's no chamfering on the blade. Also note that the jimping extends back to the back handle, and there is jimping on the underside where your finger choil is, and on the back side for a reverse grip. you have a well-textured knife. And speaking of the handle, this is an FRN handle with stainless steel liners. Its big brother, the Griptilian, does not have the stainless steel liners. As I've mentioned, it comes available in 7 different colors. This is the tan coloring, and I've already mentioned the texturing. Also, there's texturing on the face so you can get a good grip, and on both sides it's textured like that. There also exists a lanyard hole for those of you lanyard people, and it makes a really great, ergonomically great handle. It's a perfect 4-finger grip for me. If you like a larger handle, though, you can always go to the Griptilian, which is a 1/2 inch longer handle if you have larger hands. The pivot runs on phosphor-bronze washers, and it has a wonderful action. Look, whenever I retract the axis lock, it free falls closed. And you can use the thumb stud to deploy it. However, you can just pull back on the axis lock and give a little flick of your wrist, and the blade comes right out, and it free falls or wrist flicks back into place. So it's got a great action. The pocket clip is a surface-mounted spring clip and functions very nicely. It is able to be mounted on either right or left hand tip-up carry. It can't be tipped down because it would interfere with the axis lock. The axis lock is one of the strongest locks in the industry, and Benchmade has some video testing it with a machine that presses down on the blade, and the handle will break with the steel liners prior to the axis lock failing. The axis lock will not fail. How it works is that there is an omega spring that causes this bar to retract, and I'll show a picture of the omega spring here in the upper right-hand corner. And how it works is there's a flat part of the blade tang, and it rotates, and whenever it gets to there, you can put the bar of the axis lock in front of that flat part on the blade tang, and the blade will not rotate. And to allow it to rotate, you pull back on these buttons that pull the bar out of the way, and then the blade can rotate freely. It's a well-made, nice blade and a lock. And one of the things I want to notice is that it free falls closed. You just pull back on the axis lock and it falls closed. If you're talking about liner locks or frame locks, people will spend a lot of money to get custom makers that have the talent and skill to make a blade that will free fall, but no one ever talks about the axis lock because all the Benchmades with axis lock free fall is just part of the beauty of the engineering of the action of the axis lock. What are my impressions about the Mini Griptilian? I love it. It's a knife design that has stood the test of time. Are there opportunities for improvement? I don't have so much as a criticism as possibly an option for improving it. As you'll notice, the friction point of the clip comes down on the texturing of the handle scale. Spyderco has a nice design on many of their knives, for example the Delica, as well as the Dragonfly. On the friction point where the clip hits the blade, they put their maker's mark. They put a smooth area so that when it slips into your pants, it won't tear up the fabric of your pants. And they could make a smooth area under the friction point of the clip here so that it wouldn't be as abrasive to your pants whenever you slip it in. That's just a possibility of an improvement of the design, but I love the design overall. There's so much I love about this knife. First of all, Benchmade lets you customize the knife any way you like in a variety of customs, including lasering, which I've mentioned. It's a great value of a knife. At around $100, I think you'll be hard-pressed to find as good quality of knife as the Mini Griptilian. It opens and closes so well, you can use the thumb hole, or you can just give it a little flick of your wrist, and then it free falls closes. It makes a great fidget toy. It's a well-made knife whose design has stood the test of time. So if you're looking for an axis lock knife, one of the strongest locks in the industry, that's easy to open and close, and has a full grip handle that's customizable, then the Benchmade Mini Griptilian might be the knife for you. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next knife review.